let's talk about today, because today, I think at a couple hours ago, according to the East Coast clock, 3 hours ago, Congress got back from a little 3.5 day fiesta, fam. Why don't you talk about it?
Well, you put up the quote.
I did. Well, yes, we're talking about what the Congress did is they convened on Friday for 3 days on Thursday, and they left for 3 days. Now, if you don't know, you need to know that the extra $600 a week
expired.
Okay, now in the HEROES Act, there is extra extension of that going on for the next several months, but there's a lot of other pork and other bullshit in it we don't want to talk about. So the Republicans are hesitant to pass it in the Senate, even though they passed it in the House, because there's a lot of gobbledygook with it. However, there has been talks in the Congress about a 1 week extension, a 2 week extension, but everything is shot down. However, the Senate still decided to go on a 3 day fiesta. Now, Steph Sembrano, we love her, miserable liberal. She put up a little tweet. No, we are going home until we pull out of Afghanistan and use that money entirely on the people. Instead, indefensible and disgusting, Senate departs for a 3 day weekend as unemployment benefits expire for 30 million people, fam. Dude, before we get into the article, thoughts about what's going on and what's happening right now, the fact that all of the money for the people, and let me tell you something. We're in California. They haven't opened up the economy. It hasn't happened. Your thoughts to what's going on to right now? Because for me, it's disgusting. So,
yeah, I mean, 30 million people are facing not only the $600 expiring, but also facing the eviction moratorium at the very least here in Los Angeles come to an end. That's why we're going to be seeing lots of protests for rent cancellation, lots of protests against officials, like we have the Mayor Garcetti, who is the mayor of Los Angeles. But the mayor who controlled a lot of the closing down and a lot of the opening up, it wasn't the mayor, it was the governor, Gavin Newsom. He was in charge of closing and opening. And small businesses, for instance, the nail salons and all those businesses, they open for a little bit and then they close back down because Gavin Newsom said that, the spikes were too high. Okay, that's great. But you're not giving people anything to survive. These small businesses, half of them are not going to come back. People aren't going to be able to pay rent. So we have these giant tsunamis coming in. And then when people aren't getting the $600, their unemployment benefits are anywhere between less than $100 to maybe at max $400 for something. Yeah.
That's like the max. And that's in California. In some states, in Florida, I believe it's the max is $300 a week. Yeah. I'm not sure, but my sister was telling me.
It's really low in Florida. So it just goes to show you that we can't rely on these politicians anymore, you guys. That's why I did the video yesterday, because a lot of people are scared, but we can't really be relying on these politicians, both on the right and the left. And of course, the Senate is controlled by Republicans, and they adjourned for the 3 day weekend, as Pasta said. And they're supposed to meet. They were supposed to meet, like you
3
said,
p.m. on
3
Monday.
p.m. Do we have any updates on that?
I'm sure they've gotten into chambers, but I'm not sure if they've gotten anything done. I just looked and saw, because I've been looking for a lot of Epstein updates, which we'll be talking about later in the show. We haven't got any Epstein updates. We haven't got any HEROES Act updates. I don't know what's going to happen because of a lot of senators on the right and some on the left. It only takes a few of them on the left to dig in deep and say, hey, we're not going to pass the HEROES Act. We're in trouble. And we're talking about 50 to 70%. And people are already starving. They can't pay rent. They're not going back to their jobs. I do want to send a shout out to some of the cities and the counties in California, the way they've been using the streets for the restaurant businesses to expand. But that's still, it's not going to help out, enough to really recover the losses of the money of when you can just fill up your whole restaurant. And in the restaurant business is a small margin. A lot of people don't know that you have to do a lot of money and you don't make a lot because you have to pay for labor, you have to pay for food, you have to pay for everything. So when you see a restaurant that has some of the business, you're like, oh, well, maybe they'll be able to survive. It's like, no, they were already struggling on an almost packed capacity. Now with the pandemic coming in there and they give them a little extra tables and chairs where they're expanding the roads, still, it's not going to help. Also, car washes, right? A lot of car washes are closed. A lot of cars aren't on the road, so they're not washing cars. They're going to close down too as well. Those nail salons, like you've talked about, ladies aren't going out getting their nails done.
Well, now they can open hair and nail salons outside, but how do you do that? You have your chairs, you have all your supplies. It is very inconvenient. And I'm not saying COVID isn't an issue, but what I am saying is like we fucked up. Like we didn't deal with it in the beginning, and then we waited, and now we open, and then we close back down again. And California like can't afford to pay these rents of all these places and these businesses. I mean, these rents are really, really high, even for these businesses. So we're, like I said, we're going to see a tsunami. So let's real quick. They had on Thursday, Senator Ron Johnson, who is from Wisconsin, had attempted to pass by unanimous consent legislation that would give states an option to either pay out a federally funded $200 per week UI boost, which is $400 less than what it was, or this would replace 2/3 of laid off workers' previous wages. And Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon said Johnson's proposal was so heartless, even Cruella de Vil wouldn't endorse it. So there we go. Cruella de Vil
is who? Is that the one from
Dalmatians? Yeah, that was Glenn Close
with the long cigar. Oh, yeah. I remember the cartoon. That's how old I am.
So they're trying to reduce this, and Chuck Schumer, your man Chuck,
my boy, Chuckles,
proposed legislation that would have amounted to $1,600 per month drop in benefits for millions of Americans, and subsequently attempted to pass a HEROES Act, which would have continued the $600 through January of next year. Again, so that was in the HEROES Act. Obviously, the Senate is not moving along with it. We really don't know. I think at this point they want to make the Democrats they want to make they don't care. They just want them to have like the worst possible time.
Well, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to start showing out at all the politicians' house, Republicans, Democrats. They're sitting there blaming each other, they're using us as pawns to get what they want in chambers over there. You know, the House is controlled by Democrats. They passed the HEROES Act. The senators seem like they're going to dig in tight and say no, and they're going to try to blame the Democrats, and it doesn't make a difference. I heard that when Chuck Schumer went up to talk about it, he goes, "We need tough sanctions on Russia." Oh, wait, wrong topic. Let's talk about the HEROES Act. That's what happened when he went up there, but that's
and make no mistake, although the Republicans are the ones that are really pushing back on this in the Senate, it's not like the Democrats didn't let this happen. I mean, the Democrats, what Pasa was talking about is they put legislation that has nothing to do with this, with the CARES Act. They'll put for foundations, for XYZ, like money for this foundation, money for that organization, money for this and that. That has nothing to do with what the people need in order to get it passed, right? To push it through, because they know it normally wouldn't pass if it was any other legislation. So that's what they try to do, and that's why this screws it up so much, because they want to get their shit done, their shit passed, and their money far more than they want to give us anything.
Yeah, and these tactics come back to bite them in the ass, because when a lot of Republicans call them out for, like, they're trying to put all this stuff in this pork load of bills. It has nothing to do with stimulus money, nothing to do with the people starving right now, nothing to do with their help and their aid, and they want to put it in there like the Kennedy Center in the CARES Act. It's just not going to fly, and it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. But like I said, it's time to get out there in front of every single politician's house. It's time to be out in the streets,
you guys. It's time to go to their houses. It's time to make them uncomfortable.
You need to get out in front of McConnell's house right now.
Everybody needs to be calling Mitch. Everybody needs to be calling Nance. Everybody needs to be calling everybody and doing these protests. Check out the tenants union in your area. We have the LA Tenants Union here. They're doing mass protests too.
Pasadena's even doing good work
too. Everybody. I mean, this is going to be unprecedented. We are just at the beginning now of seeing the effects of coronavirus, because we're still sort of in it.